Hello, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be discussing my sphagnum moss and what has been happening with it. Initially I had it indoors and it was struggling for a while, and then I restarted it and it started to improve, but then I decided to put it outdoors, and since then it has been suffering terribly. So this is what it looks like now. It pretty much looks as if there's nothing in there. Sometimes based on where it is, because it needs light but it loves shade, and it needs moist condition. It rained overnight last night, so it has more water in it than there should be, and so I keep moving it from location to location outdoors to see how it would perform, but it is just not doing well in any of the locations where I have it. So what I am thinking of doing, I'm going to still leave this outdoors. In this container here I have some partially composted leaves, and since that is the environment that moss tend to grow in outdoors, I am going to be using it to restart this sphagnum moss. So I'm going to pour off the water, and some of the sphagnum moss is going to be coming out of the container at the same time, because it is in tiny strips, as you can see. So some of it is not too bad. I can see that it is not really dead, but at the same time it is not growing, because sometimes it dry out, like totally dry out, because I forget about it because of the location where it is in. Other times I move it, and when it rains it gathers so much water in there. So I'm just gonna take a few pieces out and put it in here, and see if I can start it over. And now that I'm thinking of leaving this outside, I am thinking that maybe I should put a hole in the bottom of it. That way at least, even if it catches a lot of water, then the water would drain off, because you don't want to be drowning it really. So I'm going to take more of these and put over here. I'm going to be keeping this portion inside, and I'm going to be putting a piece of clear plastic over it, and I'm going to be putting it on my windowsill, and I'm going to be doing a comparison of the two to see just how well they perform. The good thing about sphagnum moss is that it can grow on practically any surface, as long as it has a medium to help it to stick to the surface. Then it can grow on pretty much any surface, and it really doesn't take much to grow it, but you have to remember about it. You have to maintain it, and that's what I haven't been doing. And sphagnum moss does not necessarily feed on the nutrients that is in the soil. Sphagnum moss gets its nutrients from the air, which is one of the reasons why mine suffers a lot sometimes, because I think when I cover it over, I have it a little, it's too enclosed, so it's not getting sufficient air to provide it with the nutrients that it needs to grow. So now I'm going to be putting a plastic over it, but I'm going to just put it lightly. I'm not going to make it airtight. I'm going to make sure that I have a reasonable amount of holes in there. And the good thing about covering it with the plastic also is that it helps to keep the moisture in the container, so it keeps it moist longer, which is important, because that is what the sphagnum moss wants, all that moisture. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead right away and put the hole in this container because I don't want to forget, so I'm just trying to punch it through with a nail. Oh, the nail is too rusty, it is bending. Okay, I'll just use a screw then. There, I am through. So I'm gonna put one more hole in there. Okay, and this one went through as well. So good. So now it won't be gathering too much water. So I'm going to be putting it back in the same location where I had it last time. And I collected a lot of moss from a friend of mine. When was that? I think sometime in the late spring last year. And I just put it outside underneath my trees, so it's in the shade. So this is where I keep, underneath this raised bed is where I keep that. So I'm putting it back there. The only thing is that sometimes I forgot about it and it dries out. Okay, so in this section here, as you can see, I have a good amount of moss growing because I collected some moss off my friend's property and I just put it here and just leave it underneath the tree because this area is to the south, so it's cooler, it doesn't get a lot of sunlight, and the trees are there to provide it with shade. So that is what I have been doing. So I have moss growing just on the ground itself. I don't water it very often. Sometimes I forget about it, but when you look at the moss that grows outdoors on the ground in forest and stuff like that, nobody goes there and water it really. It just depends on whatever rainfall there is and also on whatever moisture is in the soil. So pretty much that is what I'm doing with this outside. Alright, so that's it for now. Thank you for watching and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.